show, a pure shit show. It literally takes a village.
Like, I don't know if it was dirty or clean.
Oh my god.
Bad mom. Like
yeah.
that movie. Yes.
Because I'm shining.
Woo! That was good, guys.
All right, ladies. So, quick icebreaker for you. Thinking back on your teenage years, what would your music playlist consist of?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay,
I'll
hold
go first.
on. Okay.
I was like a 2000s teeny bopper. Like, I officially became 13 at like 1999, I want to say. So really the 2000s. So I was like all about NSYNC, Aaliyah. I was all over the place. Britney Spears, Usher.
Damn. Wait, are you going back to middle school? Or are you going back to high school?
I was in high school. 2000.
When NSYNC was out?
Yeah. Well, maybe he was JT then. Was he JT already?
Yeah, and no, NSYNC was definitely.
NSYNC
I
was
had
still
them on my
there.
wall when I was in ninth
Yeah.
grade, so they
See?
still were
I
around.
knew it. I was
And
like,
Backstreet Boys too.
Yeah.
Because ninth grade, I had my wall covered.
I was all over. Like, I loved Jessica Simpson and JoJo and the Ataris. But
JoJo's
I
so
remember,
underrated.
like, my high school anthem song for myself was, like, that one that goes, like, Gator boots with the pin.
Okay, yeah.
I thought you were gonna say from the window to the wall.
That was
like,
my era.
That one
Yeah.
always reminds me of high school. That Gator boot song, for some reason. I don't know.
Really?
How about you guys?
Oh my God, I was not prepared for this question, but I feel like all the music that you're saying was more like my middle school era, or maybe that's when I was obsessed with
That's when
them.
you
But
liked it, maybe.
But like Missy Elliott, I remember
In high school?
In high school, Missy Elliott. I remember Daddy Yankee. Yes, Little John. I feel like all the Bay songs, the Bay Area songs. Remember?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't
E40,
think.
like
E40. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
I'm
funny.
totally drawing a blank. Like I can't think of any of the actual artists,
actual
but I'm
song.
like Superman. Remember the Superman?
Yeah. Was that high school? Oh, it was.
yes,
It was.
it
They would
high
do it at like our
school.
pep rallies.
The Superman.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Soulja
Whisper
Boy.
song. Boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
Remember that one?
Yes.
That one.
I went
We
to
want
a
you to sing
concert
it.
this year that had them there.
You went to a concert?
That had like all the old school people there. So I'm like big on like, I feel like I'm a 90s R&B chick. Like I just like love 90s R&B. Like even when I was in high school, I was still listening to it. But I would like those boy groups. Like I love like NSYNC, B2K, Backstreet Boys. Like, and that's the concert I went to. They had like B2K, they had the Korean Twins, they had Chingy there, they had like everybody old school was there.
Fabulous. Remember Fabulous too?
Yes.
Ashanti. Yes.
Brandy.
Oh, I used to be in love with Nelly.
With the
I used to
Band-Aid
listen
under his
to
eye.
50 Cent and Dr. Dre. See, I was more like I was not allowed to listen to Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Like I had an older brother who would make fun of them, and so I never thought that they were cool. Like I was not obsessed with them. I remember cousins being obsessed with them, but I never. I always thought they were not cool.
So
but
you listening to sugar free from Pomona.
But that wasn't in high school. I feel like that was elementary school.
Really?
That's what I grew up like. I grew up listening like in elementary school. I remember listening to my brother's like a Tupac CD and Snoop Dogg CD and Sugar Free, DMX. Like that's elementary.
Elementary was like Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yes, Bone Thugs. But I'm thinking like 50 Cent and like what like high school era or like teen years.
Your teen bopper
is
years.
like the things that I remember going to the dances and dancing to like all that Bay Area music, which we weren't even in the Bay Area, but that's what was huge back then.
And then reggaeton was like really
Yes.
big in high school.
What's that? Sean, what's his name? Sean Paul. Remember in the Beyonce song?
Mhm.
Beyonce, yes.
Ah,
Yep.
yep.
That's a good question. I like it.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
well, speaking of teenage years, let's just dive on in. Okay,
Dive in.
Marianne, dive on in. What is it hard for you to remember your teenage years? Were you young, wild, and free, or were you more quiet, responsible, and organized?
It's funny because I think I was like a good mixture of both. Like my free spirit was like young, wild, and free. Like I was definitely the rebellious child in my family. But I was also like the
Irresponsible.
teacher's pet. Yeah, I was the teacher's pet because I was also like doing sports. Like I was on the varsity team. So I had to keep my shit together basically and like
To be able
make
to stay
sure
on the
I was
course?
responsible enough. Yeah, in order to stay like in the sports that I was in. So I would say I was both. But if I
Right.
was like at a party, I was like
You were that other girl.
I was
She
that
came out
one drinking underage.
underage drinking. Marianne.
Oh, Roni. Oh, Roni. Tell us about you, Roni.
Oh,
You did not
Roni.
drink underage.
You know what? I think my senior year I did. Or
What?
like
You waited till
no,
your senior year?
yes, like I feel like that's why I'm like if people say like when you have a girl, she'll give back to you what you gave your mom, then I'm like I should be good then. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think Harley's gonna spare me. But like yeah, like I was one who didn't like I didn't ditch school
Oh
ever.
my
And I don't think I
gosh.
ever did school. Nope, I never did school. I would like even on how embarrassing on senior ditch day, I was in class.
You didn't.
I'll
No.
clap for you, Roni.
And I just really like was trying to be like good in school and not get like persuaded by my peers. But I was still like I still had like so many friends. Like people just loved me, but I wasn't really that interesting. But I wasn't
Oh, people
interesting.
just
So
love
I'm like,
me all
but
the
I don't know
time.
why. But this is I'm saying that because I'm so boring. So I'm like, why do you guys like me? I am boring.
It's because
I
you're
don't
so
get it.
nice.
Maybe
You're
that's what
nice
it is.
and
'Cause
boring.
I'm nice and boring.
You're safe.
You're the safe
It,
friend.
I'm
it,
kidding.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, but
Wait, so but why were you so good? Like, were you afraid that your parents were gonna like
yes, I was
discipline you?
terrified of my mother. My mom always like I knew that if I like ditched or something and I happened to run into her, it was going to be over for me. Like she was going to embarrass the snot out of me. So I just didn't bother. And I just didn't really like, I don't know, I was always like so quiet and like just kind of like spoke to everyone. Like I didn't really I mean there probably were people who didn't like me, but I tried like not to make enemies and just be like nice to everyone. And then I got caught up in a relationship in high school, so that took a lot of my time. But yeah, for the most part, I think I was okay. I wasn't too bad. I didn't do the like bad stuff like my sister did.
Like your sister did. See, but there's always
There's always a
one or
black
two
sheep.
or
Dude,
three. Yeah.
yeah.
One, two,
And
or three. And then the bigger families,
yeah.
there's more.
And that could have been a reason why that I didn't do all that stuff because I would see how she did it and what would happen to her.
She's
So I
older.
would be like, mm-hmm. So I would just be like, yeah, no, it's not worth
You're so right. Because my older brother, he was a really good kid, but there were times, he would ditch and stuff, and then he would get in big trouble. And I'm like, okay, I know, like, I can't ditch.
it.
But
Mm-hmm.
I still did it a couple times, and I never got caught. Well, no, I should say we did get caught for it, but it was like a senior year, so it wasn't such a huge deal. And I was already in, almost, I already had like really good grades and stuff. So my parents already knew that I had earned their respect and I was the good student. But I'm like Marianne, where I was pretty crazy with my friends, and then at home, I mean at work, oh my God, at school, I took care of business and I like had good grades, and I was respectful to everybody and my parents and stuff. So they always trusted me. I think I had like that since my older brother was really close to us. He would let us hang out with him and his friends. And so I would like to do what the older kids were doing, you know? And so that's when I would kind of get in trouble. But I think because I was with him, I felt safe enough to like let my guard down. But he would always tell me like, I'd rather you, I don't want to say party like it was such crazy, but like if I was going to drink, like I'd rather you drink with me so that I can watch you, so that, you know, instead of you going to drink at like a party and guys take advantage of you, you know? And so he was cool. He's like, whenever you need anything, let me know and I'll be there for you and or your friends or whatever, you know? And he was always like super cool about it. So, and he always took care of me, and he never, like, he always made sure nothing ever happened and I always came home and whatever, you know? But when I went with my friends, I would want to party and stuff, but as soon as one of my friends would get drunk, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm the designated driver. And then I would like sober up real quick. Like it was one of those things, like if we would go out, I would take a shot and then I'm like, okay, that's it. That's the rest. That's it for the night because I have to drive home. And then I would always be the sober one at the end of the night driving home. So I was kind of.
And what grade was this?
Gosh. Junior, senior, junior, sophomore. I don't know. Yeah, sophomore maybe. As soon as I started driving, getting some freedom. Yeah, no, I had some fun times. But I would.
Senior year.
Senior year?
Yeah, senior year. I kind of opened up a little bit.
Okay, so then going back to, did your parents give you freedom as a teenager?
Yeah.
They did. So. They were pretty trusting.
Yeah, I think my mom trusted me just because, like, she didn't have any reason not to, I think. Like, I did good in school. I was, like, in sports, and I did what I was supposed to do. But I don't think she knew what I was doing behind her back. I was a bad teenager. I was a bad teenager. I'm not gonna lie.
Were you? So wait, how young of a teenager? Are we talking freshman year right off the bat, or like sophomore?
No, I probably like really started somewhere in between sophomore and junior.
Okay, so we're around the same bad.
Yeah. Like sophomore to junior, all the way to college. Like, don't trust me.
Through college, through adult years.
Can you give our listeners an example of what's bad when you say you were a bad teenager?
I would ditch school.
Like a lot? Obviously not a lot if you were passing your classes.
I would race home so that, like, you know, our school had, like, the automated thing, like if you were not in a certain class or in class, it would call your house. I would race home and delete the messages because no one answered the phone. I was drinking. I was smoking weed. I don't know. School? No, like we would ditch when we would ditch and I don't know.
And your parents, your mom had no idea that this was going on. So you looked like a good kid to her.
Yeah.
But behind her back, you was turning up.
Yeah. It's bad. I'm in one of the best years.
I guess so.
Definitely good memories.
What about you, Roni?
So my parents were like really strict. I say they're really strict because I don't know, like, I mean, they would let me go places, but like, of course I had to be back at a certain time. Like, I don't feel like I had that much freedom. That's why I mentioned like in my senior year and after I graduated, I felt like I just went wild because of that. Like my parents made me, I had to come home on prom night. Like everybody was like staying out, getting hotels and everything. And they're like, oh, you better be back here at like this time. And I remember like, why do I have to go home? Everybody's about to lose their virginity. I didn't say that.
I want to lose mine.
But yeah, so they were kind of strict, but what helped me out, like, around my senior, like end of 11th grade, senior year, my aunt was like, was so cool that if I wanted to do something, I would like tell my mom, oh, I'm going to go spend the night over there. And when I went over there, I would ask her, like, can I go out with my friends? And she would let me. So then I would be able to, like, go do more stuff that
Oh, yeah.
my parents wouldn't do. So I had to figure out a way because they were like, no, you're not going to that party. No, no, no. So, yeah.
That's funny.
So my dad was so strict. I had a curfew all the way through college. Like, I mean, obviously right before I got pregnant, but I had a curfew and he really didn't let me spend the night at anybody's house except for like very few people. But I know now I realize why, because we were always getting into shit, you know, like we would always spend the night at the ones who's the mom is the coolest and that would let us out. And then we'd stay out all night. And then, you know, so I understand now as a parent why he didn't want to spend the night at people's houses. But so he was always the more strict one. My mom was always the more understanding, lenient. She was like, I understand how it was to be your age before. So she always wanted to have like that open communication. So she would, I feel like from a very young age, like I remember third grade, her telling me like, you know, you can tell me anything and you won't be in trouble and, you know, things like that. So I used to tell her about the boys that I liked, and it was really weird because I at a young age, I would tell her about my little heartbreaks, you know, like, this boy, he doesn't like me, you know, and oh, this boy asked me out, and so he's my boyfriend. Like, and now that I'm thinking about it, like, if my son that's 11 told me like, hey, mom, I have a girlfriend, I think I would panic. But like, she used to be cool. Like, she used to hear me out and let me tell her that in the fourth grade, I had a boyfriend and we held hands, but then we broke up, you know, and so I always felt very comfortable to tell her all of that. So throughout high school, she was like my confidant. Like, instead of me telling my girlfriends, I always went to her to tell her about guy drama and stuff like that. So she was, yeah, so she was always able to like kind of steer me in the right direction. And it's funny, Roni, because you said that like you thought, how you heard like if your daughter was bad, you're going to get payback or whatever. But that's how I feel. Like I was like kind of wild and stuff, and I did stuff, but like I wasn't bad, you know? And so to me, and I never went through that stage where, you know, where you hate your parents. Like I never understood how some people just like snapped and they're like, oh yeah, my parents don't understand, I hate them, they're so stupid. And I'm like, oh, why? Like all of a sudden you hate your parent? But I think maybe because I was so close to my mom and she was so cool and understanding that I never went through that phase. So I kind of hope the same thing, like maybe because my mom, I could be also understanding so my daughter won't hate me when she turns into a teenager. But I know you can't control that. But yeah, so my dad would literally only let me go out once a weekend. Like he was not one of those people that are like, oh yeah, Friday, Saturday, you can be out with all your friends. Like it was either Friday or Saturday, and that was it. Like you could only go out one weekend. I mean, like one night, and you had to be home by like 10 o'clock. And so, like I said, we would try to like leave really early, like 6 o'clock, so that we could,
more time,
you know, get more time. And we knew like, hey, if we go to somebody's house and like pre-drink, by the time the party starts at, you know, 9,
you're already lit.
I'll be sober. No, I would be sober because I knew I had to drive. And for the longest time, I was the only one driving. So I'm like, okay, I'll be sober by then. My friends will be drunk, and then we'll get to the party and we'll have a great time, you know? So it's just, that's the way that I just kind of worked it out. But even though my dad was strict, like he still allowed me to have boyfriends. And I think he just didn't want to know about them. Like we never got to sit there and say like, oh yeah, dad, this is my boyfriend. I remember my sister would try to blackmail me when I was younger and say, oh, dad, Janelle likes a boy, try to get me in trouble. And he would say like, okay, like there was no negative, you know, because I see some dads are like, no, she can't like a boy, and gets all hyped up, you know? Mm-hmm. And he never was like that. And in fact, like I had a couple boyfriends before my husband, which was my boyfriend at 17 years old, you know, and he was fine with them. He would let them come and hang out. I mean, they weren't allowed in my bedroom, you know, or anything like that, but he was fine with them. He wasn't scary.
Of course, no bedroom. My dad took my bedroom door off of the hinges because I kept like coming in and like closing it. And like, you know, you go through this teenage stage where you kind of just like want to be to yourself. And I would come in every day and like close and lock my door. And then one day I came home from school and the door was missing. I went to close it and it was gone. And I was like, what? You cannot take my door off. I'm like, you can't do that. I need my privacy. Yeah. Yep.
And it's Marianne, when you said that you guys ditched, like the few times that we did ditch, it wasn't to go drink or get high or anything. It was to like go eat
food.
Like you wanted to go to second lunch. You know how there was 2 lunches? We would ditch to go to the second lunch too. Like, woo, whoop-de-doo. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I thought I was bad, but I was still in control and like, you know, scared. I was always very nervous and like careful. Like, okay, we could be bad, but not too bad.
No, like no lie, I'll never forget. Like we went and smoked weed at one of my friend's house, and we like went back to school high.
You were paranoid as
I was, oh my God. And the class that I had next was like my varsity volleyball coach was the teacher. And he knew there was something wrong with me, and he started calling on me to like read or answer questions. And I like there was 3 of us that like ditched and went and smoked. We would just be laughing like across the room and red bloodshot eyes. Yeah, it was so bad.
Oh my Lord.
See, I feel like I wouldn't do shit like that because I knew if my dad caught wind of it, I would never leave the house. Like I would be a prisoner. But I would do that when I knew I didn't have to go home right away. So like if I was going to spend it at my brother's house, or, you know, like I knew, okay, I could do whatever I want because I'm not going home. So then I would do whatever I wanted. But you're brave, school. You're brave.
Or just stupid.
Okay, so wait, go ahead, Robbie.
What's funny is like I feel like when I got to high school though, I mellowed down because when I was in LA, I was a different kid. Like
what?
Yeah,
so you were more wild as a kid.
Yes,
like, what grade? Like middle school or elementary?
That's why we moved out there because my mom didn't want me to like, I guess, yeah, I don't know, get really bad. But yeah, like 6th through 8th grade, I was.
Was your wild and out years?
Yeah, I think so.
So then, did you ditch back then, or what is wild?
How do you ditch?
Let us lunches. I'm telling you, you can ditch the lunches.
Yeah, no, I definitely skipped lunches, went to lunches. I wouldn't do my homework all the time. Like it's bad to me.
Just like talk back to the teacher.
Trying to smoke weed in 7th grade.
Oh my gosh, Robbie.
Yeah, 7th grade in front of City Hall. We ditched. Oh my God, we ditched and went to like City Hall was literally across the street from the school, and like you know those windows where it's like black, you can't see in, but I guess they could see out.
Oh
and
my
like
God.
Yes, it was horrible. Me and some friends were like in the corner trying to light it up, and someone like banged on the windows. They were in there having a meeting.
Oh my God.
So we had to take off. I know, right in front of City Hall. Yeah, so that's
oh my God.
I did in high school. I learned my lesson.
That's why you were good in high school. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then now that we know how bad we were when we were teenagers, are you guys excited to have teenagers of your own, or are you guys dreading it?
Who is excited? Like, is anyone ever excited for teenagers? I don't think I've met anyone who says they're excited, especially people with girls. There's no way. No way.
Excited.
Okay, I'm excited because I remember it was so much fun, like the dances. I loved my mom the whole time, you know, but it's the heartbreak. I'm so dreading them falling in love and getting heartbroken, or what they think is love and getting heartbroken. Because I remember every stupid little boyfriend that I had, like, well, not every stupid little boyfriend, but like, you know, like, feeling like, oh gosh, I like him so much, and then boom, it's over. And then you're like, oh my God, life is over. You know, I don't want them to feel that.
And they are.
So
going to.
That's what I'm dreading, is the heartbreak.
I feel like Lennon's already a teenager, so I'm like, oh my God, imagine when you're like in your hormonal stage and think you're the shit, you little
So
shit.
you guys are so you're dreading it because the hormonal stage?
I'm just dreading, like, if he already has an attitude with me now, like, I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm dreading. I mean, I'm excited for, like, all the events, but not, like, his attitude and when they become teenagers and all the shit that he'll put me through.
Oh, and driving is a scary one too. Yeah, trusting them behind the wheel.
But
well, Roni, you're the only one that has a teenager.
I was
my oldest is only 11, and your oldest is how old? 5, 6?
Oldest? Oh, mine is 5. Yeah.
Okay, 5. So Roni's the one with a real life teenager here.
With a real life 14-year-old going into 9th grade. You know what? Like, I'm very fearful of this journey. However, so far, it hasn't been all the horror stories that I heard. Like, it hasn't been. I don't know if that's just because, kids come with a different personality. And so I think that me and him can ride his out. I don't think I'm going to have any crazy problems like I feel that I'll have with my middle or with my youngest. Like, I feel like those are going to be the challenging ones. And I feel like I built a relationship with him very early where he comes and tells me all the business, whether I want to know or not. And I don't want him to stop because we already like have a mutual agreement and he knows that he could come to me for anything. And my whole rule, me and my husband, is just don't ever lie to us because if we find out, you're going to get in more trouble. So just be honest with us up front and we'll handle it from that point. So far, it hasn't been too bad. I do see changes in him, of course, because he's getting older. So not so much like talking back so much, but he'll try to play around and like if I'm like, Devin, it's time for you to do the dishes, and he's like, you do the dishes, and I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm just playing. I'm like, yeah, don't even try it. Like little stuff like that. What? Yeah, and he's like, I can't even play with you. I'm like, no, wait a minute, I'm not your friend, I'm your mom, so let's get this straight. But
because it's one thing for him to do that at home in the privacy, but then it's another thing if he tries to act cute out there. And then you want to backhand him because he embarrasses. Yeah.
Yep. He's gonna get himself embarrassed. So it's just like I'm seeing him like getting into girls and just his voice has changed. So like that's the hard part for me because I'm like looking at my once little baby boy is like turning into a little man and I can't even handle it like at all. And he's taller than me now. So I'm just like, what's going on here?
He's already taller than you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you find yourself giving him like, do you find yourself like turning everything into a lecture? Like every scenario, like if he tells you about a friend doing something and you're like, see, this is what happens when you don't listen to your mom or on a crazy one.
Now that you mention it, yeah, like I do find myself, well, and two, I take it as finding any time to make a teachable moment, you know, and since he comes to me about so many things, I just tell him how it is in that moment. And just hoping, because, like, I feel like we never really, our parents can tell us stuff till we were black and blue, but we always thought they didn't know what they were talking about till later on. And then we were like, oh shit. So I always struggle with that. Like, they listen to their peers way more. Like their peers are everything. And like, how do you keep them on this straight line when you have peers coming in and trying to derail them? Like that's the hardest part of parenting alone and then with the teenager. So I can just hope that keeping that open communication helps and he hears my little lectures in the back of his head when he thinks he wants to do something. And he doesn't do it, hopefully, but I'm sure that we'll hit some hurdles. I know.
There's a book that's called Strong Mothers, Strong Sons that I'm listening to on Audible.
Okay.
And I'll link it. And it's just so crazy how different boys are than girls, right? And so we can relate more to our daughters because we were daughters before.
Yeah.
But for sons, like, they navigate through life differently. They process things differently, and it was saying, like, as long as we are a constant ear for them, like, hey, we're open to hearing whatever you have to say when you're ready, and the way that they express themselves are so different too. Like, they may not elaborate more, like, as much as girls do about their feelings, they're kind of more cut and dry, but we take it for what it is. And we're like, okay, we're still here for you. And you're still, like, it's so crazy. This book, I really recommend it. But speaking of something like that, my son, he recently had his friends over, and I guess they were getting really kind of rough in the pool, like playing basketball and stuff. And he had said that he told his friend, like, back off, you're getting too rough. And he's like, I've been acting like this. So my son went inside, and I noticed that he was, like, really upset, my oldest, right? And he doesn't get upset. And so I was like, what's the matter? And he's like, on the verge of tears. And he was like, oh, my friend, he's just being too rough. And I told him to stop, and he won't stop. And he's just like, and then he kind of just laughs it off. And I'm so mad. And I was just like, I wanted to go out there and drown him. But of course, like, I'm like, he's your friend.
You're gonna embarrass him.
You can't just come in here and cry, And so then I was like, you gotta be serious and firm, and, and tell him, like, dude, I'm not joking, and he's like, well, Mom, I already said, and then he's like, I'm just going to stay in here. And I'm like, you can't just stay inside. You got to go out there and face him. Yeah. So I was like, take some deep breaths, go in the bathroom, cool off. And you got to get firm with your voice, and you can't cry, because then, it'll be all bad, because he's not going to get the message if you cry, so just breathe it on out until you feel strong enough to go outside and face him. So, and then I called my husband, because I was like, am I supposed to push him back out there? Like, I feel like I'm throwing him to the wolves,
No.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, that's just what boys do. We roughhouse and talk crap to each other. Like, he has to go out there and face his friends, And so he went out there, and they were fine. Like, afterwards, they all just smoothed it over, and we're fine. And so then later on at night, I'm a mom and I'm a woman, and I'm like, tell me your feelings, So I'm like, how was it, going back out there? And he was like, oh, it was fine. It was better, And I was like, oh, so did you guys talk? Like, and then I was like, and he was like, no. We had some words here and there. He's like, but it was fine. I'm glad you made me go out there. And so I was like, oh, okay. So why are you glad that I made you go out there? Like,
Oh my gosh, Janelle.
And then he's like, you want to hear more details. And then he looked at his dad, and then my husband was like, that's all you're going to get. You're going to have to take that for what it is. And that's all you're going to get from him. He's a boy. He's not going to sit there and be like, well, the way that I was feeling was A, B, and C, like, just take it for what it is. And I'm like, okay. But I felt all, excited.
Like, tell me more how I was right.
I know, right? Like, how did that make you feel? Next time.
Aren't you glad I did it?
You can tell me anything. I got you, boy.
But I really think that, like, open communication is very important. I'm really worried about my husband, because I feel like he's going to be way more lenient on the boys than he is on my daughter. And I already told him that that's not going to fly, but I think he's going to have a really hard time, especially with her, like, dating or anything like that.
So?
Like, he listens to, like, all these country songs about these little girls, growing up and leaving their dads. And he gets pretty, like, oh, really? I got to shut this off, because I can't even, like, think about it. Yeah. So I don't know how he's going to be. That's what I'm worried about. Okay. So when do you guys plan on letting go of the ropes, like letting them wear makeup, dyeing their hair, dating, all that stuff?
I don't know.
Maybe start with what it was like with you. Like, how old were you when you were able to date, wear makeup and all that, and then compare it to what you're going to do with your
the
kids?
first time I had a boyfriend was in 8th grade, I want to say. But I don't even know if my mom knew.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know. I think it's weird. And I wore makeup in 8th grade.
Did your mom know that you were wearing makeup?
Yeah, but I was like the clear mascara. Like, it wasn't like full on, like,
okay,
right? Yeah.
Sticky ass lip gloss. You remember that sticky ass black lip gloss?
Yeah.
So sticky.
No, I had that strawberry or cherry roll on. Do you remember that one? Oh my God, it was delicious. Delicious.
I think I dyed my hair in junior high. Yeah, like
what?
Everything was
did?
Yeah, in junior high. Like, she was like, really? Whatever. Like, cool. Not that she didn't care, but she was like, oh, whatever. As long as you're still doing good in school and you listen at home, you're good to go, kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think like when Lannon gets to a teenager, I don't know. I think it depends on how he's doing, like how his behavior is in general, and if he can drive. Like, he'll probably have a phone depending on like his agenda. Like, if he's in sports and it's like an activity where I can just drop him off and like I need to pick him up, like that's the only way I think I'll let him have a phone so he can call me. Or like dyeing his hair and stuff, like I don't think we care, just because like my husband and I have tattoos, and he dyed his hair like when he was like, I guess he was a huge, like his mom was a hairdresser too, so when he was in high school he was huge in soccer, and all the soccer team dyed their hair every week, like green, red, blue, blah blah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's his excuse for why he's bald, guys.
Well, that makes sense. Every week dyeing your hair.
Yeah, and like I guess she would do it. His mom would do it, and she used like the legit stuff. So yeah, and I don't know. Like, I think it just kind of all depends on what kind of kid he is once he's a teenager. If he's like bad, then I'm gonna cut all things off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
You guys don't talk about it, you and your husband, like when you're gonna allow him to date or anything like that?
No, he's so young. I think we're just trying to figure out how to tame him now.
Right now. Let's see. So for me, I had my first boyfriend in the 8th grade, but my parents didn't know about him. And I remember I wrote him a Destiny's Child song in a letter. What was his Say My Name? Or no, that was,
oh my
I don't know what it was. But I wrote
Can you pay my bill?
It was something. But I remember I was so heartbroken because he was like cheating with another girl from another school.
Oh God.
So I was like all heartbroken. But I guess we didn't really do anything, but you know that little puppy love that you think you have. But I feel like my official boyfriend was in the 9th grade. And my parents, they knew like going to high school that I was going to date, so they were okay with that. But I couldn't wear makeup. And I think that's probably to this day why I'm like a no makeup girl, because I never learned how to do it because they didn't let me. Like, I feel like if they would have let me wear makeup, then I would have mastered this makeup thing.
But maybe your skin wouldn't be so pure as it is.
You don't need makeup, right?
Makeup. I'm so envious. I want some makeup.
It's expensive.
I know, but I want it. Yeah, so what else? So I think Devin thinks that he had a girlfriend in 8th grade, but I don't really count that. I don't really count it. But I know going into high school, I'm expecting him to he's in 9th grade. Like, I'm expecting him to start dating. It's going to be hard for me. I'm not even going to lie. It's probably going to be way easier for my husband, but it's going to be way harder for me. And especially like once this quarantine stuff is over and he's in high school and he wants to go hang out with his friends, I almost feel like in a sense I'm like losing control a little bit, because when they're little, you can control like pretty much who they hang around, if they can go, if they can't. And as they get older, you kind of have to give them that freedom to go and be out with their friends and hang out and stuff. And I'm a little worried about that. Because I can't watch him all the time like I want to. So that's going to be hard for me. I know it's going to be hard for me.
Now, him being a boy, do you have different rules for him as far as how old he'll be allowed to date? Or like if he wanted to dye his hair, would you let him dye his hair? When are you going to let Harley wear makeup?
So he already asked to dye his hair like last year. And I said no.
Didn't he dye it? Oh, he didn't.
I told him no. I told him no. I told him probably once he starts driving or get a job, then he could dye his hair.
Okay.
As far as makeup for Harley, like, I don't really know, because this is my first girl and then I didn't really wear makeup. Like, what is appropriate? Like, when should a girl start wearing makeup? Like 16?
Dude, there's so you didn't girls that wear makeup now and they're like only 4.
Yes, on YouTube, huh? They have YouTube tutorials and they have like that wing eyeliner unlock.
Harley watches it and she has some lip gloss that's like tinted that she puts on from her little play set. And literally sometimes she'll get dressed and she'll be like, oh, wait, I need to put my lipstick on. And I'm like, no, you do not. And the boys yell at her. Like, Peyton's like, you don't need any freaking lip gloss or lipstick. And she's like, yeah, but I need it to look pretty. And he's like, no, you look pretty like that already. You don't need he'll tell her like she doesn't need it. So she already wants to wear it, which is crazy. But I feel like 16 is a good age to. Is that too old?
What is that, junior high?
The girlfriend 16 is not junior high. That's like sophomore year.
And they'll wait till they're in high school to do whatever you want to do.
I don't know what would be considered like appropriate. Like I really don't know. Like I'm thinking like I thought 16, because usually is that when you're about to drive and you're just kind of finding yourself a little bit. Because I feel like in 9th grade, like you're in 9th and 10th grade, you're still in that awkward stage where you don't really know who you are, who you want to hang around with. Like you don't really know until you get to like 16, 17, then I feel like you come around and you build your confidence.
I feel like it's so weird to say. Like, it's hard to say because the generation now is so different compared to when we were that age. I mean, like, we weren't, like, any better, but I feel like it's weird because there's so many, like, little kids, like, talking about sex. And, like, I don't remember talking about things like that when I was, like, in elementary school or, I don't know. So the thought process is different, I feel like, now for kids compared to, like, when we were that age.
Look at their
like it's way more advanced.
Like we went to like Windsor or something and got a prom dress. These girls are getting like mini wedding dresses made for prom now. Like we didn't do that.
Well, there was a couple girls that did it, I remember. But they would always like end up getting in trouble for having too risque dresses on. So then they'd have to wear a sweater or like a PE shirt over it or something stupid. And I'm like, you wasted hundreds of dollars knowing that you cannot wear that deep of a lunge or backless or whatever. But you wanted to do it for the pictures. And now you have to wear a PE shirt over that pretty $200 dress. Idiots. I mean, but we're young, you know. Okay, so for me, it's gonna be hard. I feel like I never want to like loosen the reins, but I know people who have not let their kids date until after they graduate from high school, and their kids are in college, and I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like, okay, so somebody that I know, I'm not going to say who their name is, they didn't let their daughter date until after they graduated or once they turned 18. And so she graduated and she fell in love with the first little douchebag she met, which you meet douchebags, right? And like in high school, you date a bunch of silly boys that you're not going to fall in love with. Like you're going to think it's puppy love or whatever. And you're going to do that whole thing, but then you're going to grow and meet another guy or whatever. Well, this girl, she waited so long. And so when she turned 18, she fell in love with the first guy that she met. Of course, he's older than her. And he's like, hey, your parents don't want you to date me. Why don't you just move in? Because you're already 18. You don't need to, be home. So she moved in with her very first boyfriend. He's her first kiss, her first real boyfriend, and she moved in with him. And she is no longer living under her parents' roof. It was like the most traumatic thing that has ever happened to the parents, right? Like they just lost their baby girl at 18, like bye. And she doesn't really like visit. The guy never wants to go over. He's like, nope, don't like your parents. That's it. It drew such a big wedge between her and her parents that they were really close, And so that scares the crap out of me.
On them.
Yeah.
It like literally backfired. They thought they had this plan, like sheesh, that's scary.
To get her to an appropriate maturity level and age. And then I think because they don't have those mistakes that they made when they were younger, to really realize like this is not love. You don't have to marry the first guy that you kiss or I don't know. So that scared me because now I'm like, okay, I had little boyfriends growing up. Like I remember I had crushes in third grade, like I said, I would tell my mom and I remember them saying we were boyfriend, girlfriend, but it wasn't real boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't think that my real boyfriend was until 9th grade. And that was one that lasted 2 weeks. And then he broke up with me to date another girl. And I remember thinking I was so heartbroken. But my mom would always tell me, like, there's more boys in this world. This is not, this little bubble right here doesn't mean anything. Like there's so many people in this world. You don't need to be heartbroken over this. But even so, you're still heartbroken, But so I don't know, like, I want to be open with my kids and I want to be like understanding. And I also want to be protective, but I have to be realistic, because I also know kids who their parents are like, you can't date at all. And they sneak behind their parents' back and they have their boyfriends for a year and their parents don't know. So I want to know, like, I want to meet these kids and I want to be able to tell them, hey, he's a nice kid, or no, he's a little shit. You need to kick his butt to the curb. Because I feel like these are the ages that you need to like have those conversations. Because when they're older, they're not going to care what you have to say, Yeah. Or at least that's what I'm seeing. So I don't know. So dating is going to be interesting. And I remember we used to have this teacher. He was a male teacher and he was really close to his daughter and she was 16 and he would allow her boyfriend to come and hang out at the house. And my husband, before we had any kids, was like, I'm going to be a cool dad like him. Like he's really close to his daughter and he knows the boyfriend and he's involved in their lives. But now he's like, nope, she's never going to date. So I'm like, then you're never going to know anything about her, because if you just put those walls up, she's not going to tell you crap. Mm-hmm. As far as makeup, my mom did not allow me to wear makeup until I was 16, like you said. But in the 7th grade, I used to sneak lip liner because remember my Chola days. So I had to have that. But then so 16, she did do the whole clear mascara too. But I 1 year, I think it was junior year, she allowed me to do real mascara, but it used to bleed. Like, cause you have PE and you're a hot mess and it wasn't waterproof. So I would literally have dark eyes every day after school and I would regret even wearing it. So then there were times where I was just like, fuck it, I'm not even going to wear makeup. I didn't get into face makeup until after high school. Cause I thought, oh, I could finally afford compact, that's the big deal. So I remember my cousin, we went and bought Chanel compact and she was like, oh, it's so good for your skin. Dude, I broke out so much that I needed more of it to cover my breakouts. And then I just realized one summer, it's because of the fucking makeup. The makeup is clogging my pores and making it more blemishes, So then one summer I was like, okay, I'm not going to wear it. And then I let my skin breathe and then it kind of got back to normal. But yeah, I really feel like the makeup would make me like break out more or cause discoloration too. Like it wasn't until I started wearing under eye concealer that I started getting more darker under eyes. Have you noticed that? Like, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
yours are darker, but I see people who have dark. Yours are not dark at all, but I see people who have darker ones when they take off their makeup.
It's makeup. I have makeup on right now to cover the dark circles.
I've seen you without makeup. There's no dark circles. You make this stuff up in your head.
Oh yeah. So hopefully I can get my daughter to not wear makeup as long as she'll like maybe like at least 16, but I'm really hoping not, because I feel like once you get used to it, you end up. Have you seen little girls? Like I've seen little 7th graders wear makeup, and then the days that they don't wear makeup, their face looks so much more older and like used than the girls who don't wear makeup. Have you seen, like, you know, like when we don't wear makeup,
aging younger.
Yeah, like we don't wear makeup and we wake up and we look like death. Like these little girls are looking like death at 7th grade, and that's not how
Normal.
we were in 7th grade, you know?
Wow, I haven't seen
And I think it's because they're starting so young to wear these makeups that it's like it's affecting their skin a lot earlier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but my mom would let me wear makeup for like the homecoming and like the dances, so I felt all magical. I remember those.
See, that's the feeling that I want with the makeup. Like when you put on the makeup, it's like you get to be like a different person almost.
Yeah.
Not look the same every day.
So if you guys are dealing with teenagers right now, make sure to leave us some comments in the Facebook group. Let us know how you guys manage your teenagers, if you guys allow them to wear makeup, at what age, are we completely off? I mean, Roni has a son who's a teenager, but none of us have sons or daughters that are teenagers yet, so we may sound really ridiculous or way off or way unrealistic with especially the way the times have changed. You know, we may be too old school for what's going on in this world right now. Yeah. So let us know, guys. All right, help us out. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to catch up on our previous episodes, visit mamasmimosas.com, where you'll get access to all of our podcast show notes, our YouTube videos, and our private Facebook group, where we chat with you about each episode topic and host live Q&As with our fave mom tribe. Can't wait to see you there.